Welcome to Joseph Photo Studio. May I help you, ladies?
Yes, sir. We want to get our picture taken.
You've come to the right place. This way, please. All right, put your best smile and stay still. I will count to 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Joseph de Saulniers, the photographer. He is one of many characters that was created when the entire NetEase team was drunk. Like, think of it. What kind of photographer wields a saber in their daily life? Would they greet customers by brandishing that saber and saying, "Welcome to the photo studio. May I take your picture or your head?" That photo studio would be raided by the FBI the next morning. This level 2.5 difficulty champ is adored by fans for being surprisingly handsome at 60, unlike your grandpa, my grandpa, or everyone else's grandpa. Except for Tom Cruise, obviously. Facing off against Joseph Maines as a survivor countless times, I still can't figure out how to describe this baby-faced grandpa. So this time, maybe I'll spill the beans on my experience and share some wisdom from a Joseph Maine I know. A content creator extraordinaire, Eve Eternity IDV, from the hunter's perspective. Stay tuned, folks! Joseph is undeniably a hottie, with a legion of fangirls that NetEase can't resist showering with skins, just like Vera and her Vera Nation army. The first time I saw Joseph, I was like, wow, this dude is a chick magnet. Then I found out he's actually 60, and I was utterly disappointed. Shouldn't he at least look 80? I won't be surprised if he turns out to be a century old. So he looks like 17, and yet he's actually 60 years old. I want to sue NetEase for it, to be honest. But then I think again, this is Identity 5. Logic doesn't exist here, especially for Dr. Maines getting chased first in rank. For me, Joseph is one of the biggest jump scarers in the game, right up there with Bloody Queen and Wuchang. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Dream Witch should be included as well, right? Honestly, forget about the Dream Witch. That hunter's only a jump scarer if you're playing the composer and get too focused on making combos. Even so, the thing I hate most about him isn't the jump scares. It's his ability to delay the cipher machine progress. My serious gameplay, relies heavily on cipher rush and hiding. Joseph is a pro at slowing down the cipher rush, even though he's sometimes so blind that I can emote right behind him, and he wouldn't even notice me. I can't really describe Joseph very well, so I asked for your help to define this relic and chick magnet. And, as usual, you guys were pretty brutal in your descriptions. Here are the top 3 definitions of Joseph that I think nailed it. Number 3 on the list comes from Mr. Serial. In my opinion, this is the sanest description of Joseph in the entire comments, and he manages to sum it up in one sentence. That's what I call brilliant. You see, Joseph's whole deal is about countering the cipher rush and dragging out the game for everyone. I wouldn't even be surprised if a match against Joseph ended up lasting for 2 hours. Now that's agony for everyone losing the match, by the way. Moving on, number 2 on my list comes from Billy Eyelash. He said Joseph is basically a jump scare simulator with a built-in tracking system. I can't argue with that. Every time I play against Joseph, he pops up behind me, ready to swing his saber like some kind of homing missile in disguise. Honestly, maybe one day we'll see fighter jets equipped with Joseph instead of missiles. Now that would be something. Lastly, number 1 on the list is from Mary Smile. She said that Joseph Maines are ruthless until you type a cute text, which makes them friendly even in rank matches. Well, that only works if you're an Aesop main, okay? When you're Aesop, you don't even need to type anything cute. Just say hi, and I bet Joseph will start following you everywhere, throwing in that salute emote for good measure. They can have their little bromance while I'm stuck decoding all the ciphers. However, it's a different case when you're a little girl. Say hi to Joseph, and you'll fly first. Say I love you to Joseph, and you'll also fly first. That's why, as a little girl main, I often say "buck you" to Joseph in pre-match. I mean, I'd be the one flying first anyway. Why can't I curse him a little bit? It feels like Joseph mains are always cruel to this little gremlin. Now that we've talked about him, let's dive into his skills. First off, we all know Joseph was probably created when the entire NetEase team was drunk, because instead of doing 50% damage, this guy dishes out 75% damage with each hit. It makes healing seem pointless, unless you're playing as the doctor, the barmaid, or the psychologist. Second, he has this trait called the camera world. This lets him summon a parallel universe where he can do anything from smacking the little girl hiding in the open, prepping to jump scare a clueless thief, or maybe even indulging in some weird fantasy with Aesop. Or wait, was it Norton? Who knows, but it's definitely strange either way. When the first presence is unlocked, he gets this skill to freely enter and exit the camera world. That's the main issue for the survivor mains, since they would never know when it's safe to decode. Imagine you're decoding away, oblivious to what's happening around you, thinking the hunter's busy with someone else, or maybe went AFK. Then suddenly, you hear that heartbeat, and next thing you know, everyone's yelling yo-yo. Well, that's what happened to me yesterday, and the day before. I mean, I'm the one yelling yo-yo at them. They yo-yo me back because I got terror shocked as well, so it was a yo-yo party. His second presence grants him a skill called Time Jump, which lets him teleport back to where he was 15 seconds earlier. Essentially, this skill is like time travel in IDV, making me wonder if this old guy should even be called a photographer anymore. With this skill, he can teleport back to where he was 15 seconds earlier. Survivors caught in this would understand the pain of trying to rescue someone, only for Joseph to suddenly appear right in front of them. Some of these old man mains also use this skill to reset their teleportation. If they pick the wrong gate, they just use this skill and go back to where he was. Now that we've talked about his skills, let's see the survivor's problem when facing Joseph. As a survivor main relying on Cypher Rush, I can't stand this grandpa. I always hustle to decode as fast as I can, teaming up to speed things along. This strategy should work against Joseph, especially early on before he gains any presence. The problem is, my rank match teammates seem clueless about the whole plan. I'm in the mammoth tier, and as I've mentioned in previous videos, mammoths are brain dead sometimes. When I try to decode together, the other player either leaves, tells me to scram, starts spamming stickers, or goes all out with emotes. I mean, come on guys, you're mammoths for goodness sake! Don't you get that Cypher rushing early game is how you handled Joseph? Makes me wonder if they're playing on someone else's mammoth account. This is what happened in one of my post-match chats actually. We lost to Joseph. One player played so poorly that the whole team started cursing him out. But then he casually says, "Guys, I'm sorry, I was on an important call. My brother was playing." And he got away with it. Next match, I bump into him again, and he drops the same excuse in the post-match chat. "Sorry guys, I was on an important call." I was like, "What are you, Elon Musk or something?" But it was all because of him that I got this brilliant idea for what to say when I mess up in a match. One time, I got terror shocked after being chased for a mere 7 seconds. In the post-match chat, I sheepishly typed out, "Sorry guys, got a call, my brother was playing." Then one guy busts me, "Selmina, that's a lie. Your brother hasn't touched IDV in ages. You're that YouTuber, aren't you?" I totally got called out when I tried to make an excuse. Such is the agony of being a YouTuber. But I'm kind of happy that someone recognized me, you know? I was like, "Aw, okay, you got me, but thanks for noticing." Then he goes, "Yes, I know you. I followed your hiding tutorial, and now I'm a mammoth." I said, "Oh, that's great. Glad I could help." He goes, Screw you. I was a griffin yesterday. Well, that's awesome. I helped him get demoted. That's awesome. Facing Joseph as a survivor comes with its own set of headaches. One big problem is you can never predict what Joseph is up to. Is he stalking you in the photo world, waiting to jump out and scare you senseless? Or is he just chilling, slurping soup, and living out some bizarre fantasy with anyone he encounters? Pro Joseph players will often jump scare you by predicting your every move correctly. Clueless Joseph players? They're just taking pictures when they see Aesop in the photo world. Since Joseph can deal 75% damage in one hit, playing as a doctor is a solid choice, and this is where the mind games begin. In the waiting room, a hunter might intentionally select Joseph and uses a visit standby motion to make himself visible to the survivors. Some clueless survivors fall for this trick and immediately switch to playing doctor. Then, the match starts, and the doctor find themselves up against a geisha, getting downed within 5 ciphers. And his first presence gives survivors even more insecurities because it enables him to enter and exit the camera world as often as he wants. When he sees a shaking machine, he just enters the camera world, gets close to the machine, and tries to jackpot hit by popping out of the camera world and swinging his saber at the machine. It's annoying, to be honest, because you can never feel safe while decoding. His second presence is a whole other story. Some pro Joseph players use it to bait survivors into rescuing, only to deny them with a nice painful terror shock. I've had this experience firsthand so many times that I'm traumatized. Once, I was near a chaired survivor, but I refused to rescue because Joseph had activated his second presence. Terrifying stuff. Now that's all I know about Joseph, being a survivor main. Next up, I'll share some insights from an IDV content creator about the problems Joseph poses, from the perspective of Joseph mains. Without further ado, please welcome the main star of the show, me. Please welcome Eternity IDV. I know some of you might think, if we need insight about Joseph, shouldn't we ask Devastery? Sadly, I don't have his contact. So here's my brilliant plan. Let's contact Eternity and ask if she has his number. Just kidding! A few things about Eternity. She was an S-Badge Joseph in Season 22, ranking in the top 10th in all. She became a Joseph main after discovering DM, and became a simp. Can't blame her though, since DM is so hot according to many fangirls. As for me, I started to hate Joseph when he had that DM skin. Just kidding, by the way, I've always hated him since the beginning. Eternity also has a YouTube channel called Eternity IDV. According to her, the absolute horror of playing Joseph is encountering a team that communicates well, and even worse, facing VC players. Dealing with survivors who provide a live commentary of Joseph's every move and update their team on your location? That's Joseph's worst nightmare. Joseph relies on mind games, but trying to outwit and predict survivor movements becomes incredibly challenging with such coordinated communication. It's as chaotic as trying to decode 5 ciphers solo. Sure, you can still win, after enduring loads of stress. She gives some tips for playing as Joseph. Her top advice is not to get too caught up chasing survivors, but to focus on using his skills and mind games instead. For instance, always keep an eye out for shaking ciphers in both the real and photo worlds. Also, try a reverse jump scare, which means surprising them by jumping from the real world into the photo world, not the other way around. It's a move people usually don't see coming. And remember how his damage works, so that you create scenarios where survivors can't heal each other properly. Plus, don't always target the doctor. Lastly, keep in mind that time jump focuses your screen in the direction of the nearest survivor, which can come in quite handy. Well, thank you so much for all these tips of Eternity. Now I'm scared even more of meeting Joseph after people watch this video. But worry not, she also generously gives some tips on how to counter Joseph. First, make sure to keep up the constant communication with your team, even if it's just with randoms using those in-game messages. It seriously ups your chances of winning when everyone knows where he's lurking. Secondly, knowing when to heal, tough it out, or rescue a photo version is crucial. According to her, even many Griffin tier survivors struggle with basic healing strategies or insist on needing a doctor to deal with Joseph's tricks. Actually, if every survivor coordinates their healing efforts well, they can totally outplay him. Aside from Eviternity, I also looked into the problems Joseph mains face from the internet forums. One common struggle is locating survivors early game. Inside the photo world, they can only see in black and white, and most survivors are pretty good at hiding early game, except for Aesop. He doesn't need to hide from Joseph. He should take selfies with him instead. This problem can be solved by training your eyes to notice every small detail on the screen, checking the minimap, and knowing the exact spawn locations of survivors. Some Joseph mains also struggle to locate down survivors after the photo world ends. Pro Joseph mains have some tips for finding them quickly. First, sweep areas where survivors are likely to go when they're down, like the second floor, the basement, and the map's edges. Second, bring the street sweeper persona, which lets you locate survivors who are healing up. That way, you can catch them before they make a comeback. Talking about healing, there are also some tricks survivors use against Joseph. One is to heal the survivor who took the 75% damage, then continue healing after the photo world ends. This way, they can be fully healed quickly. There are more tips, but if I went into them all, we'd be here longer than a Joseph match. So, that wraps up our menu of Joseph's roast today. Remember, all the roasting is in good fun, so no hard feelings, okay? As always, feel free to drop a comment or two on this video if you have something to say. Thanks for watching, everyone!